Joe Jakeman here. By the way, Jason was doing the first hour a tribute, obviously, to those people that what I'll say is needlessly lost their lives on 9/11. Our thoughts and our prayers we will never forget. But if you missed the first hour in Colorado, tune in for the Front Range Hour as I'll talk about the events of 9/11, separating the real from the fake. But nonetheless, for all those people that lost their lives on 9/11, we're with you. We're with you. That's for sure. But tune into the Colorado Front Range Hour. Jason was going over it this morning. Some things that just, things you don't even want to think about, and you don't want to be true, but awfully hard to combat. Welcome, though. Here it is on a Wednesday. I guess the temperature going to heat back up again. I'm ready for this summer. This thing called summer, I'm ready for it to be over. A lot of ground to talk about. The Dow's at 27,000 again. Let's all clap that, right? What was the great news today? Apple needs to lower prices. Now, I don't know why that's good for Apple, but apparently Wall Street loved it. The new iPhone 11s now. I wonder at what point they just stop, right? It's like, the movies like Rocky, right? It was Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, right? And the more iterations, right, the worse the movie gets, it's kind of that way for the iPhone. The iPhone 11 reviews are not great, so they lowered the price. Right, that'll make people feel better. Bunch more cameras on the phone. Somebody said the big thing about the new phone is you can take, how you take your selfies? Apparently now you can do them in slow motion. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Why you'd want to do that? I know this. I was like, man, I wish my phone could take a selfie in slow motion. Wouldn't that be great? And I don't know, maybe it takes everything in slow motion. But yeah. So there you go. So now all of you guys out there that were always thinking, man, I wish I could have done that in slow motion. The new iPhones will do that, I think. That's what I read anyway. Why just the selfies? Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it's all the pictures, but yes, you can take them in slow motion. So if you need that slow motion capability, now that may be the expensive one. In fairness, I don't know. I know that the cheapest new iPhone, I think, was $700, $700 or $800, all the way up. I think the most expensive one is like $1,500. You know what? I don't care enough to even look at what price point the slow motion selfie comes into play. I mean, this is how vain we've become. We really have. Incredible. But everybody was hammering the design and, Steve Jobs rolling over his grave. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's a phone. Well, it's not a phone anymore. It's everything but the telephone. But yes, coming soon to America. If you weren't already sick of all the selfies and all of those things, yes, the slow motion selfie is now coming to you soon. So make sure you get out there for the price of an ounce of gold. Right, you can get a cell phone. There you go. That will allow you to take selfies of yourself going really, really slow. 800-951-0592. That is our toll-free number. Of course, you guys know that. The website at allamericangold.com. And gold was, having a correction. It's up today. Really, gold's about where it's been since I got here on Monday, right right around that $1,500 level. Right now, $1,497. Silver, same thing. Silver just hanging out right around that $18 level, 1803, 1804 on silver. We're waiting. The ECB is on the clock. They're going to be getting ready to start their rate cut. I think the issue for the ECB, how much stimulus are they going to pump in? Next week, we got our central bank, Jay Powell. Everybody expecting another rate cut there. I think what that put us between 1.75 and 2%. I guess that mid-course adjustment thing needs a little more adjusting. We'll be back right after the break. Don't touch that dial. 800-951-0592 is the toll-free number. All kinds of things. You know, when we're sitting here, we're talking about trade wars. There's an article out, or not even an article, a speculation out that the president may ease sanctions on Iran now. I don't know. Who knows? You know, all these distractions. You think about the economy and all of the data points, all of them. What is the real GDP number? I don't know. Do you know? If we spend $1.6 trillion more than we take in, does it matter? Right? You know, they announced, what was it, the other day, hey, 11 months in, we're already over the trillion. That's the small number, over the $1 trillion level. Don't worry. It'll be fine. Right? We're sitting here, we're waiting next week, this time next week for another rate cut. Right? We had one of the largest tax cuts ever given to businesses ever the year before, and GDP is somewhere below 2%. I think the last number I saw was they're expecting 1.7 for the third quarter, and who knows? We don't know. We just had a horrible jobs number last Friday. But Wall Street likes it. Well, I think because they feel better about the fact that we're going to get a cut here. We're going to get another cut. Of course, you knew that. I've been telling you that. 3, possibly we could get 4 cuts this year. Again, the Fed hates to cut during an election year. But really interesting data coming out of the Census Bureau. What is the one thing that they've been saying about the economy? Oh, the consumer is holding up. And we got all these great data points about jobs and about unemployment, right? And about inflation. Let me tell you what the Census Bureau has done. And it's brilliant. They decided, hey, let's go back. Now, I wish they had gone back to 1971, right, when the Fed officially took over. When we gave the power of our financial well-being to the bankers. And by the way, no auditing. Because let's face it, the bankers, they never lie, cheat, and steal. Of course they don't. Go to your state. I don't care what state you're catching this broadcast in. If you're listening from another country, if your country has a Better Business Bureau, Google your bank. Just see how many complaints there are. Now, I wonder if they make it to where you got to Google the headquarters of where your bank is. So you may have to know that, right? You may not be able to, if your bank's headquartered isn't in Arizona, right, you may have to Google the Better Business Bureau in the state of the headquarters. I'm not sure on that. But here's what I do know. Nobody gets more complaints than the banks. Nobody. For lying, cheating, stealing, right? And all of you know. I'll use me as again, I view myself as, the average Joe Schmuckatelli out on the street, right? I'm fighting hard like all of you to maintain a middle-class lifestyle here in the United States, and it's hard to do. But when you're sitting there and you're looking at, what we have done, the Census Bureau went back to 1973. And they did a little test. They took wages in 1973. And they compared them to where they are today. And what they did and what they decided to do is they said, let's take the person that makes the least amount of money, pair him up with the person that made the most amount of money, and on and on and on, and they got to the median wage. Okay, so that means half the people make less than this amount, half the people make more. Not the average. See, the median, when you do wages the median way, you take away the big CEO's power to manipulate data. Right? Think about Dr. Evil Jeff Bezos. What does he make a year? What's the number? 40 million, 50 million? I don't know, whatever. It's millions and millions of dollars. Right? He could, just his pay alone could move the average pay for all Americans by like $1,000. You factor in old Warren Buffett and all these guys, so the median. Not the average, the median. And they went back they took the data from last year, they don't have this year's done, and they went back to 1973. And here's what the data told them. We make less today than we did then. Now, the numbers are much bigger, right? Take men as an example. Adjusted median earnings for men working full-time year-round. Okay, so this is the best case scenario. And this is what I love about this data, right? You can't get any better than this. As we know, full-time year-round is hard to do anymore. $55,291. Ladies, I'm not forgetting about you. You're at $45,097. So progress made on the wage gap, yep, but we still got a gap there. But it's shrinking. But that's, kind of look at it this way. About 50 grand, right? That's probably about the median pay in the United States. That's it. 50,000. And as all of you know, right, you try living on $4,000 a month before taxes, right? Try living on $3,000 a month, $3,200 a month. It's hard. I mean, look at a car payment. Right? Look at car payments, car insurance, health insurance. Try having a family on that. And they said that the average wages for men since 1970, the median, sorry, I said average, median wages for men, down. Men are actually making less money today than they were in 1973. By the way, they also did this as well. household income. This was a good one. So let's say, hey, we got husband working, wife working, kid working, what household income? $63,000. $63,179. By the way, that was up 0.9%. Now, here's the funny part. When you watch the Idiot Box every day, they love to tell you, wages are up 3.4% or 3.2 or 3.5. Census Bureau says, hey, listen, we don't care. The median household in the United States, it was up 0.9. By the way, even the lying inflation number of the central bank, guess what? It was up what? I don't know, 1.7, 1.6, 1.8. Pick a number. Essentially, what I've been telling you all along, which is what? We're making less every year. Every year. They rob from us. They steal from us. See, what they think here's how the story goes for the central bank. This is their logic. Okay, number one, we need inflation. Right? And of course, now they put a number on it, 2%. But don't worry, that number can change at any point in time whenever they would like. Matter of fact, they'll cut rates as far as they need to get there. Here's the point. It doesn't work. Europe's already negative. Japan's already negative. They don't have any of this inflation. Of course, let's face it, by the way, think about this. We've imposed a 30% tariff now on $250 billion of Chinese goods. We've got a 10% tariff on another $150 billion worth of Chinese good, with another 10% on the other $150 billion due here in a couple of months, and yet they still tell us there's no inflation. Of course, I don't know. Call me stupid. How does that work? Obviously, if you got the right formula, you can make it to be that there's never any inflation. But here's the point. Even with that, even with them lying about what inflation is and using the data that they give us, you're still making less. The only time we're not is when you include the billionaires. When you go to average, it looks better. And see, so don't be fooled, because when they come out on the TV, and they do it. Matter of fact, it's Fox and CNBC. It's a daily occurrence. I only watch, so I get up. It's somewhere between, 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm up. And the first thing I do after, I go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, and, get ready, I turn on the Idiot Box. And I'm watching because I want to see the gold, where's gold, where's silver. Well, I was asleep. What happened? Right? You got to know now, right? Going to sleep is dangerous. You're not sure what's going to happen. And we live out on the West. 5 o'clock in Arizona, it's already 8 a.m. over there in D.C. Who knows what the president's been tweeting? But they average hourly earnings are up 3 points up the percent. They say it all the time. Oh, look at the jobs. Unemployment's so low. And average wages are up. See the difference, though? They use the word average. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, if you take out the average, and you just go to the median, right, where, let's face it, most of the people are cluttered where? Right? You've got the fringe, right? The people at the very top, the people at the very bottom. The vast majority of Americans are what? They're around the middle. That's why I said, look at household earnings. There's only 63,000. And they say, guess what? Based on that, we're worse off today than we were in 1973. Great job, Central Bank. You're doing real well. We'll be back right after the break.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. Mrs. Schlafly was a courageous and articulate voice for traditional values and common sense for more than 70 years. And now, from the archives of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, here is Phyllis Schlafly.
Did you know that alleged child support has nothing to do with supporting a child? Because the mother has no obligation to spend even $1 of it on a child. And in many cases, none of the support money ever gets to a child because it goes to fatten the payroll of the child support bureaucracy. Did you know that a judge can order a man to reimburse the government for welfare money which was falsely labeled child support and paid to the mother of a child to whom the man is not related? Did you know that when a woman applying for welfare handouts lies about who is the father of her child, she is never prosecuted for perjury? Did you know that judges can refuse to accept DNA evidence proving that the man she accuses is not the father? Did you know that when corporations cannot pay their debts, they can take bankruptcy, which means they pay off their debts for pennies on the dollar? But a man can never get an alleged child support debt forgiven or reduced, even if he is out of a job, penniless, homeless, medically incapacitated, incarcerated justly or unjustly, cannot afford a lawyer, serving in our armed forces overseas, or never even owed the money in the first place. These are among the injustices that the feminists and liberal legislators have inflicted on men. The sponsor of the federal law that says you can never get a support order reduced or forgiven was the former Democratic senator from New Jersey and presidential candidate Bill Bradley. The law is called the Bradley Amendment. Most Bradley Law victims never come to national attention because the mainstream media follow the feminist propaganda line. But one egregious case did make the news this summer, and I will tell you about it tomorrow. It's about a man who was kept in debtor's prison for over a year for falling behind in payments for a child that was not even his own child.
This has been the Phyllis Schlafly Report from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. The traditional family is the building block of our communities and country. That's why it's imperative to support strong marriages, respect fathers, and champion stay-at-home moms. At phyllisschlafly.com, we oppose the liberal attempt to redefine the family. To join us, visit phyllisschlafly.com. Thanks for listening, and join us again next time for the Phyllis Schlafly Report.
800-951-0592. Got an opportunity again this morning. Very few and far between. I thought we'd get more, but it is what it is. Got some $20 gold pieces. I don't even know what they are. So let's just say they're libs. If you get Saints, be happy about it. Right now, and I've been running them the last couple of days, $15.95. But if you buy 10 or more, $15.85. 20 or more, $15.75. At 800-951-0592. The president, speaking of tweets, was out this morning continuing his verbal assault on the Federal Reserve. And you know what we're seeing? We're seeing more and more. More and more now you're starting to see about, is this the end of the Fed? When is the digital currency going to happen? And all of these, it's coming. I don't know that we get 10 years. I don't think we do. I don't think the math works. But obviously blaming the central bank for the slowing economy. Listen, we can blame the central bank for pretty much all of it. Why do things have to cost more? Have you asked yourself, why are they so scared of deflation? Right? Why is it that, think about it, we know in economics And the system that they created. Listen, I didn't create their system. Right? I didn't write the rules. I didn't go to Harvard or Yale or Princeton and get a Nobel laureate in economics. I haven't written books about it. Right? Now, I have read what they've written. Right? I've done it. I've educated all of you listening about it. Right? And what does it say? Right? Really, really simple. It says, right, that we want you to put your wealth into our financial institution. And when you do that, you sign over those rights to that money, to your wealth, and you give it to us. But since you're nice enough to do it, we'll pay you for it. That's how it used to be. And now, of course, right, no bank pays you anything. And even the ones that pay, there's some online places that maybe pay you, I don't know, a couple of tenths, 3, 4, 5 tenths. Right? But then they get, the fees, the maintenance fees that you get, and all the other fees that are associated, right? A bank account now costs you money. But how it worked was, hey, we loan this stuff out. Right? And we make the money on the interest. And guess what? Out of the kindness of our hearts, for those of you that are fortunate enough to have some money to spend, some wealth, you too can buy these bonds. Yup. And normally, the bonds, right, would give you an even better return than just leaving it in your bank. That makes sense, right? Because otherwise, if it was worse, you'd just leave it in the bank. And now they're on a race. See, they don't want you to leave your money in the bank. Right? They need growth, right? Because they got to be able to support all the debt. Right? Our debt's almost $23 trillion. You know how expensive that is? You know how much growth we've got to have? I mean, could you imagine if the prices just fell? Car prices fell. Home prices fell. Well, we kind of saw what happened in 07 and 08, right? It was disaster. People started mailing their keys back to the banks. Here you go. Just keep it. We're done here. So they have this system set up. And now, of course, we know that it was nothing more than a great big giant Ponzi scheme because it always needs what? New money coming in. See, if they don't get the new money coming in, right, they got a problem. Why they need inflation. Right? Inflation's the new money. In other words, hey, we're going to get growth one way or another. See, the sad part about GDP right now is it's essentially just inflation. 1.7, that sounds about, their made-up number, right? That sounds about right. It's all they have. The government's running huge deficits. Normally that's supposed to what? Get you a little better. It doesn't now. Right, and we're starting to crater under this. You're now supposed to go out and give the money to the government or whatever, even corporate bonds. And it won't even pay you the inflation rate. Right, which is a way of them telling you, hey, listen, your money's not worth it. And it's going lower. We know what's going right. They're lowering rates next week. Everybody expects them to lower them again in October. Why not? Donald Trump was out calling the Federal Reserve officials boneheads. He's not wrong. The Federal Reserve should get our interest rates down to 0 or less. Now, he's got an interesting idea. We should then start to refinance our debt. Now, that's the problem. It's a great idea. Right? He's like, hey, wait a minute. Let's go to less than 0 or less, whatever. And let's refinance. Right? Let's refinance everything. See, what the president doesn't know is all the, especially treasuries, right? There's rules and penalties and all this stuff. But it's a great idea. But what the problem is most of the debt is very short term to begin with, right? But still, there's money. We could save money, right? All those 30-year notes from like 2000, let's refinance them. The problem is you got to have enough people to be able to buy those amounts. See, so we can't. There's not even enough buyers to do it. Good idea, though. Well, the boneheads, they're in charge. Make sure you got some protection against them. We'll be back. 800-951-0592. And just to shift gears back to 9/11, because I just saw this. Franklin Square in Munson Fire Districts in New York, along with, and I want to make sure I get this right. There it is. Along with the New York Fire Commissioners have voted unanimously for a new investigation into 9/11, citing overwhelming evidence that pre-planted explosives caused the destruction of all 3 of the World Trade Center buildings. Again, tune in to the Colorado Front Range Hour. I know Jason and Brian are going to be doing a lot of this. We did this in the hour before out of KHNC 1360. And again, another reason why you need to have a place like 1360 out there so these things can be brought to light, and we can, conspiratorial thinkers and tinfoil helmet wearers and all, and too many times, way too many times, that's where the truth really is. And it's the same way with your wealth. I'm telling you, you are being stolen from every single day. And guess what? They take away our liberties and our rights every day. See, they know. And they're doing everything possible. We have not recovered from the Great Recession. It's not true. But come on, Joe. We've had 11 years of economic growth. Unemployment's low. There's no inflation, and housing prices are back. Well, let's see. The average American, the median, right? I'll say the average. Okay, the average American, the median wage of this country, where the vast majority of us are located, is down. Our standard of living is down. Home ownership is down. right? Do we have jobs? Yes. They just don't pay. Right? Temp, Uber, Lyft, 1099, right? Independent contractor, Amazon jobs, right? Which, no offense, I don't think anybody wants one of those jobs. But this is where it's at. And, of course, they've created this huge misconception, and they've gotten the media to go along with it. Listen, you know why they're requesting, hey, we need to redo this? Because they're tired of people saying, you know this isn't true, right? The science doesn't back up what you're saying. Right? The same thing about our financial well-being. What they're saying doesn't back up the truth. The President of the United States just came out and said rates need to go to 0 and below. That's not in their economic textbooks. He had a novel idea. Hey, let's refinance. Do you know that we spent $538 billion on interest on the debt? Right? $538 billion. Now I know why when Alan agreed, hey, we're going to pay off the debt and we're going to save all this interest money. And Social Security and Medicare, they're going to be fine. You dummies. Gold's just getting started. You know it. I know it. Social Security doesn't have even 10 years left. It doesn't. It's already broke down. I mean, that's just the truth. We spend more than we take in, even when we get the fake interest. Well, they pay it to us, but it just wasn't really, you know what I mean. So immediately, there was a big response to the president's tweets about this refinancing. Of course, I just told you it's not viable, but it's not viable. It could be a significant problem for investors, right? The losses would be astronomical. Financial markets and ultimately the economy. Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's Analytics. By the way, he's another one of these guys, a big, huge fake data guy. Moody's Analytics does all these survey stuff that you have to be almost in a depression before they even tell you things are bad. The debt is not prepayable. There's a contractual relationship with the Treasury and the investors. See, this is what I said. There's penalties involved. You can't do it. Well, you could. You could force. I mean, all of the banks that have to hold these treasuries now would all be insolvent overnight. I mean, that's what would happen. This isn't a mortgage. This is U.S. Treasury debt. It would be incredibly disruptive to financial markets and would actually force interest rates to shoot through the roof and not actually fall. That part would probably be right. So there you have it. I guess we can't refinance our debt and take advantage of these cheap rates that are only getting cheaper. Final segment coming up. (800-951-0592), and it's amazing. It's sad. It's wrong. And I think about, I was telling you how every day I turn that idiot box on. It's only on for like 5 or 10 minutes, and 5 or 10 minutes every day they tell me about wages in 5 or 10 minutes. It's kind of like CNN with Trump and Russia. Of course, today. The Census Bureau just blew that all right out of the water. But we're talking about interest rates. Do you know the only time interest rates should be below 5%? Fed funds rates, 5%. emergencies. Well, not an emergency, but bad things. Slow down. For the 10-year note to be below 3%. Bad things. Recessions and good ones. For them to yield below 2%. It's a calamity, right? Kind of like the Great Recession. For them to be negative, which they are in all over the globe now. We're just not there yet. Tells you this is a crisis we have never seen. And they're telling you everything's wonderful. Every once in a while, they'll let a guest on and they'll give him 3 or 4 minutes to tell you, hey, wake up. Wake up. You know this is bold. You know this is BS. But when they take the other 23 hours and 55 minutes and tell you, oh, no, it's fine, and they've got it all handled. It doesn't mean what it used to mean anymore. What kind of nonsense? It's meant this for hundreds of years. But now it just doesn't. I mean, let's face it, bacon's been around a lot longer than we've been a country. It always means the same thing. And this is how the handoff of power happens. You know that you've known this for a long time. How about all of you quote-unquote conservatives out there? Are you really conservative? We're running $1.5 trillion plus deficits. By 2022, they're going to be $2 trillion. By 2024, it's going to be, $2.5, $3 trillion. By 2027, it's going to be north of $4 trillion a year. The path, not only is it unsustainable, right? That's a nice word. We're on the way to what? A new currency, folks. And when you get a new currency, what comes with it? Massive devaluations of your wealth of epic proportions. Unless there's only one winner. You guessed it. You have gold. U.S. 20s, $15.95. 10 or more, $15.85. 20 or more, $15.75.